DJ and PK, proudly presented by our title sponsor, Black Desert Resort, Utah's premier golf resort. Time to welcome Ken Pomeroy back to the show from KenPom.com, college basketball guru. Ken, good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen.
I'm curious, when you watch BYU blow out Kansas by 34 points, if you are completely stunned, or if you look at it and think, yeah, someone who just glances at my rankings wouldn't expect that, but Kansas has been trending in the wrong direction for 3 or 4 weeks now, and my numbers will catch up to it, and 34 is extreme, but I get the BYU one comfortably. What's your reaction when you see all that play out?
Yeah, closer to stunned, I think. I mean, it's, probably the worst performance that Bill Self has been on the sideline for in his illustrious coaching career. I mean, I don't know all the things he did at like Tulsa and Oral Roberts or anything like that, but he was pretty good at every stop he's been at. And he's obviously been awesome at Kansas. And so, yeah, to see one of his teams just get dismantled like that was pretty stunning. The whole Kansas story to me is like the more fascinating part of this bit. I mean, I know we want to talk about BYU, but the whole deal with Bill Self is he's kind of like John Calipari. He's getting lost in the new world of college basketball. He has a kind of an old school type team that doesn't have much of a perimeter threat. In fact, his 4 and his 5 don't really shoot threes. Like Hunter Dickinson does a little bit, but it's a pretty easy team to defend. And last night he kind of leaned into it and decided to actually start his 4 and his 5 and then another one of his 4. So he had 3 guys on the court on the starting lineup that could not shoot threes, and BYU took advantage of that early and jumped out to a lead. And I don't think that lineup made an appearance after that point, but it didn't matter. Like BYU was getting the shots they wanted, and Kansas was settling for shots that they were uncomfortable with the entire night. And it was just a flabbergasting event. Certainly a low point for Kansas basketball. I think they will bounce back. They're not as bad as they looked, and BYU's not as good as they looked, but obviously...
The heck they aren't.
I mean, the beautiful thing is they do have to play at Arizona in their next game, so we'll find out if the Cougars can validate that. And it wouldn't even really require a win. It's just if they're competitive against Arizona, that would be
right.
An extremely encouraging sign.
For Kansas' sake, they've got a tough schedule down the road here as the season ends. Did you see a possibility of them not even making it, which would be catastrophic in their world?
It would be catastrophic. There would be pitchforks out for Bill Self if that happened.
Yeah.
Just 3 years removed from a national title.
Right.
And 5 years removed from 2020 when they would have been the favorite to win a national title if they played the
tournament. Do you think it's possible if, say, they just go in a tailspin?
I suppose they lost their last 5 games and the first game in the Big 12 tournament. There would be a conversation to be had about that. They're just so loaded, with quality wins at this point that it's really tough. I mean, they were, the committee did their sort of fake bracket reveal over the weekend. The top 16 seeds. I mean, Kansas was in that mix as a 4 seed, so it kind of tells you where they were at coming into the week. So to go from a 4 seed to out playing a Big 12 schedule would be difficult, but perhaps possible if they, again.
Yeah, I mean, they got Oklahoma
out.
State and Colorado, so they're not – you'd expect them to win those 2 games, but they do close with Tech and Arizona at home and at Houston's. I mean, that's 3 pretty good teams right there.
Yeah, I mean, if they lost Oklahoma State and Colorado, those would be blemishes. I mean, the point is losing those other 3 games wouldn't really affect them at all. So they'd have to lose these next 2 games and probably lose them the way they lost to BYU to really get people thinking about them missing the tournament.
They're 3-5 in the last 8. If they will go 2-3 here, beat the unranked teams, lose to the ranked teams, that puts you 5-8 in your last 13, and then we'll see if they can win a game in the tournament before they presumably run into a ranked team. Man, to think you can finish 6-9 and just cruise into the tournament, that's something.
It's something, but I mean, look look around, DJ. Look, I mean, look at the SEC. What's going on there?
He's looking around right now.
All right, keep looking because you might see a team like Oklahoma, who is currently 3-10 in the SEC.
Man, Oklahoma
hit a lot of brackets.
Oklahoma and Texas are getting talked about, and they had a lot of hype, and they got draftable guys on it, but they're just getting drilled in the SEC. Texas is doing a little better, but Oklahoma's getting drilled. Texas is under 500 in the league, though.
Well, the point is, Oklahoma is getting drilled, but people are still taking them seriously as a tournament team at 3-10.
Yeah.
So that Kansas could be, taken seriously as a tournament team at 6-9. Neutral site win over Duke in non-conference. We got other fish to fry if we're going to complain about.
Yeah.
Kansas being considered because there's some doozies out there.
I read an ESPN.com story that BYU went up 10 spots and. The odds. Can you get that much out of one, that your odds of going in the tournament or going in as a much better seed? Do they move that much with one win, one home win, no matter how impressive it is, 34 points over Kansas?
I don't know. I don't know to what you're referring to, but that seems like a lot. That seems like a lot. Kansas is not old Kansas. This is not the most quality of wins, and doing it at home obviously discounts that a little bit. So, certainly BYU secured its bid for the moment. They made it more secure. Let's put it that way. So, but they're not safe, not completely safe. They could kick it away here down the stretch, but yeah, a parlay too. You're jumping Kansas in the standings, so that obviously. Has a nice ring to it as well when we're talking about getting a bid here.
How much do you place on seeding once the tournament is there to determine who you think might be successful?
Not as much as you might think. There's a whole big deal. That last kind of few days heading into the selection about who's getting what seed and how important that is, and even with the ones and the twos, the way I came around to this point of view is once the field's announced, I use my ratings. I'll do simulations of the tournament and figure out who has the best chance to win and whatever. And it's always the teams you end up thinking there's no real surprises there. But in those simulations I can reseed the teams, right? And I could take Auburn, who's going to be a 1 seed, and I can make them a 3 seed or something. And invariably their chances of winning the tournament don't change. So. When it comes to thinking about who's going to win the tournament, the seeding is not terribly important. Teams are really pretty robust. Their chances are pretty robust when it comes to what different seed they might get. Now, getting them maybe some of the weaker teams getting to the Sweet 16, something like that. Maybe that's a slightly different story. What comes to mind too is last year BYU matches up with Duquesne, and I believe the point spread. I was thinking about this last night as I was watching the game, but I believe the point spread was the largest spread for a 6-11 game in tournament history. It was certainly close to that, if that wasn't it. They were a 10-point favorite in a 6-11 game, which was almost unheard of, and obviously did not win and really didn't come close to winning. So,
right.
So even that's the case where it seemed like a pretty favorable matchup, for a 6 seed, and it didn't work out. So. So, yeah, seeding's a little it's obviously, the cliche, it's, way more important on who gets in than where they're seated. But, for the most part, it's just matchup issues more than seeding itself.
You say BYU, you think they're not completely in, but they're pretty much in as long as they don't do anything crazy and lose some terrible games down the stretch. How confident are you in Utah State getting in? How much work did they have to do?
Yeah, slightly different situation, obviously, because the schedule is not going to be as friendly. There's, no. So they go, San Jose State. They play San Jose State tonight, and that's obviously a game that would be catastrophic to lose. Lose. It's hard to imagine they could lose that game in Logan, but. That's the kind of minefield they have to run here is San Jose State, they close with Air Force at home. If you ever lost to an Air Force team that's winless in league at home, there'd be eyebrows raised. And, even the solid teams they play that are, potentially quad one wins, they have road games against Boise State and Colorado State, which are low-end quality quad one games. I guess the point is you can't lose all of these games. Probably got to, obviously got to clean up the San Jose State and Air Force games, and then I think you go 1-2 against the trio of quality opponents they have sandwiched in between there. They have a home game against San Diego State. That would be nice to get. I think this holds serve at home. I think they're going to be okay. It's not a resume, that contains high-end quality wins, I guess, with the exception of a road win against St. Mary's, which has aged quite well. The road win against San Diego State is nice. So those will hold up. But, potentially with just 2 quad one wins, it's not a super safe situation. That said, we mentioned some of these cases. Certainly, I don't know, the Oklahoma case is interesting, but there's no real other pressure like right now from other, teams outside the power leagues for at-large bids. So that'll play in the Aggies' favor, and I think if they just hold serve at home here, go 3-2, they'll be in decent shape.
Who are some of your candidates for Player of the Year?
There's two candidates for Player of the Year. It's people have kind of talked about this Player of the Year race. So we got Cooper Flagg from Duke. You may have heard of him, and then we have Janai Broome from Auburn. They're big man, and Duke and Auburn have really been, I'd say, 2 of the 3. Like there's a tier of 3 teams at the top of college basketball right now that have just been absolutely outstanding, consistently outstanding over the course of the season, and Duke and Auburn are 2 of those. Houston would be the 3rd. Houston doesn't really have a Player of the Year candidate. They just have like 8 guys who all play super hard, and some of them can shoot the ball, and it's really a team-oriented concept there. But Duke and Auburn, certainly led by those 2 guys. Not only do we have those 2 guys like chasing Player of the Year, and it's been a great race, and seems like Cooper Flagg is maybe the slight favorite right now, which is pretty stunning considering he's about 6 years younger than Janai Broome.
Yeah.
But in addition to that, we don't really have like anything close to like a third candidate for this. Like the rest of college basketball is like not star driven at all. But those 2 guys have really asserted themselves. I think any other year, either one of those guys would be kind of an easy choice. But they both exist this year, and it's going to be a tough choice. And I know there's like probably 10 or 12 of these Player of the Year awards, so I think there won't be a consensus. I think Cooper Flagg will probably win most of them, but you're going to see a lot of support for Janai Broome as well, just the way Auburn has played all year.
We like to point out that although you are clearly a national figure, KenPom.com figuring prominently when the selection committee gets together, you're also a local guy who lives on the Wasatch Front, so you know of the Jazz Tankathon 2025. Rutgers has 2 of the top 3 prospects according to most of the mock drafts. You have them ranked 79th. Is this just a case of these guys will really be something in 5 years and they're not ready to win in college basketball against guys who are 3 or 4 years older? Or as you've watched Rutgers, if you've watched them a little bit, you have a take on why they're 12 and 14 playing in the Big Ten with 2 of the top 3 prospects in the NBA draft?
Yes. It's a lot of things going on here. I mean, I think the first thing is, let's establish those 2 guys are extremely talented, and 5 years from now will probably be very wealthy humans playing a high level of basketball in the world's best basketball league. But the other thing is, like, Rutgers really doesn't have any supporting cast for these guys. I mean, it's kind of important. And, the difference between, Cooper Flagg, I mean, John Shire did a tremendous job really kind of building that roster around not just Cooper Flagg. They have 2 other really talented freshmen as well who start for them. But, he's able to add some experience around those guys, some talented experience, whereas Steve Peichel at Rutgers has not really been successful doing that for the Rutgers basketball team. I was just looking at their roster here, and their 3rd best player offensively is possibly a gentleman by the name of Jordan Durkak, who they transferred from Merrimack, one of the lower levels of Division One. So there's not a lot of help there. Dylan Harper is the real deal. I mean, with the right talent surrounding him, he could be a part of a really nice team. If he played for Duke, like, he subbed him out for, Tyrese Proctor, who is basically Duke's point guard at this point when Cooper Flagg isn't handling the ball. Duke could still be really good. So Dylan Harper is the real deal. Ace Bailey, who is the larger of the two players, 6'10", kind of rangy, big man. He's also very talented. He's a little less ready right now to play team basketball. He makes them better basically by his scoring, but not as much by anything else. So that's kind of the limitation there. But they just have those two dynamic players. It's a great example of kind of modern college basketball, where it's just hard to win with just getting 5-star talent at this point. Coaches have realized, the transfer market the way it is, you can load up on older, experienced guys. You can get the best of those guys, and getting the best of the 22 or 23-year-olds who are still in college is a little bit more of a proven track at this point than getting the best of 18 and 19-year-olds, which, a lot of coaches have struggled to kind of process and adapt to. I mean, the one exception there is Duke, but other than that, you look at teams that have, star freshmen, and there are more of those this year really than there have been in past years, but it's still the freshmen are not the ones driving the bus. It's really getting these older, experienced players in your program, whether they're homegrown in your program, which is rare this time of year, or rare in the current era, or just poaching a bunch of transfers from the best mid-majors. Either way, like, that's kind of how you build a winner right now.
How much do pros get involved with your stuff and you get involved with them? Because you had nice breakdowns on all these guys, as far as their NBA credentials.
Yeah, I would say like 15 years ago, it was definitely a bigger deal on that front. Now there's all sorts of like even more detailed services out there that, break down the strengths and weaknesses of these guys. There's more granular play-by-play stats out there that I don't have a lot of interaction with. I'm kind of focused on higher level things and big picture things for players or teams. So, there's still interest, but there's not like direct interest in terms of people asking me for advice or things like that.
Do you think that, like, if your name was Kenneth Higginbotham, if it would be like KenHiggs.com, wouldn't be as cool as KenPalm.com?
I agree. I don't think if that was my name, I would have chosen KenHiggs.com for the.
Good decision. Rock solid analysis by you. Wait, self-scout.
Well, what would you have done? I mean, come on. You sort of lucked out there.
I did. There's no doubt. I mean, it's funny, too, because, like, I really chose the website name before I had an idea for a website. So it was just, like, kind of a bit I did. Where I was like, I'm just going to, 20 years ago, buy this website name. I think I like to do it later, but I could put whatever I wanted on there,
So you got a song title, but you don't have a song?
What about a melody? Lyrics? Huh.
Speaking of song titles, gentlemen, did you know this? This is a problem in my life now, but there's actually another Ken Pomeroy on the scene.
No.
Who is an up-and-coming female singer.
Really?
And now, like this year, it's been really worse than ever, where people are like pinging me about, I see you're like in, doing some concert in Oklahoma this week. You're really talented.
I don't want to hear about your problems. Try being David James, okay? Don't get started.
Fair enough.
Some Canadian photographer has davidjames.com, or he did last time I looked, which was years ago. Gave up on that idea. Oh, hilarious. So if we keep you focused not on your music career and not on the scouting individual athletes, for people going forward, as they check kenpalm.com, like the top 35, 40, where is the line where if you've got them ranked there, they are 100% in the tournament? What's the gray area? And where's there a number where, like, if you're 50 or 55 or 60 or whatever, you're out. You're not getting in a large bid. Have you looked at that over the years? What's the range?
Yeah, I looked at that. So the one caveat here is that the committee's they're not going down my list and making selections. So it's not a one-to-one correlation here. But, if you're in the top 30, yeah, you're pretty safe. It's extremely rare to be in the top 30 and not get in. And then in that 30 to 40-ish range, you're pretty good. Probably every year there might be 2 or so teams in that range that don't get in. Some years more, some years less, some years there's 0. But then once you get outside that top 40, it gets a little more dicey. There have been cases in the past where you do get extreme situations where teams have built up a really good resume on, like, close wins, and they've avoided, bad losses or whatever, but some of their losses have been lopsided, and they'll be ranked pretty low in my ratings, but their resume-based metrics will be good enough to get them in. So you do occasionally see a team in the 50s or 60s or even 70s getting that large bid. It is rare, but sometimes the stars align for that to happen. But, yeah, for the most part, if you're not in the top 40, very, very small chance that you're getting in the tournament by the at-large route anyway.
Ute fans just perked up. You've got them at 75. If they run the table, how high would they go? I mean, they got to run the table, right?
Got to run the table, which seems highly improbable, but could happen. And, yeah, they did that. They could get into the 60s, I suppose, and they would get some consideration, although I'm skeptical they would get in.
Be quiet, man. I'm listening to the Ken's song. This is...
Here you are.
Lovely voice.
It's just her and a guitar.
Yeah.
There's no relation?
There's no relation. I got, I think she's like 20, 21, something like that. But I got an email from her dad a couple of years ago. And,
stay away from my kid.
No, he was like, whenever you Google Ken Pomeroy, like your image comes up. Like, can you change that? Can you call Google and change that?
How are you supposed to do that?
Yeah,
No,
I know.
I'm me, and I got here first.
Exactly. It's not my problem.
Click.
Well, if she gets Taylor Swift money, let me know and make it worth my while. And, this is America. Maybe we'll come to some type of financial arrangement.
I'm buying this tune, man. Yeah.
The other thing is her name is Kendra. Like, why? She's the one who changed her name. It's not she's suing her, if anything.
She did it to go off your fame.
I believe that's the case.
Why aren't
exactly.
you? Where's the lawyers, buddy?
Yeah. Do you know a good one?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've needed several over the years.
He's got one female lawyer he's particularly fond of, but I think she's retired. But, for the right amount of money, maybe she'd take one more case.
My lawyer was Lois Barr's, or not Lois, that's her name. Oops. My lawyer was Roseanne Barr's sister-in-law. Yeah.
All right. Well, there's some serious credentials there, I guess.
That's all I needed to know.
So the judge will be swayed by that when I
absolutely
take this poor girl to court.
Kendra, bad news. All right, Ken, we will leave it right there for now. We appreciate your time, and we will be following KenPom.com, and we'll get you on as things heat up in March.
Sounds great, guys. Appreciate it. Always love talking to you.
All right, Ken Pomeroy from KenPom.com. Love having him on the show. We are taking a break. When we come back, everything you missed in this show, and no more Kendra Pomeroy. So you got that going for you. Stay with us.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
You have to be able to shoot in the NBA now outside of maybe a big. I think we're going the direction of even if you're 6'8", if you're a non-shooter, you're in trouble. I've watched it, Ben. I've watched the evolution where you could have 3 non-shooters 10 years ago. Then it went to 2 non-shooters about 5 years ago. When are we getting to the point where it's 1 non-shooter? And eventually, do we go to 0 non-shooters? I don't know. But we're headed...
Celtics won last year with 0 non-shooters. If you're not going to be a great shooter, you really need to have a superpower elsewhere. And the 2 guys I would think about are Jimmy Butler and Ja Morant, who are non-shooters, who Ja Morant's the most athletic player in the NBA, and Jimmy has some of the best on-court work ethic when he's dialed in as anybody we've seen. He's a great defensive player.
Hear Jake Scott and Ben Anderson every day from 10 to noon on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
9 a.m. Slacker Radio Headlines are brought to you by Trajan Wealth. Call Trajan Wealth today, your local trusted financial fiduciary, 801-899-7600, or visit their website at TrajanWealth.com. Well, the conversation this morning, PK, has primarily centered around college hoops. Aggies play tonight against San Jose. Utes beat K-State on Monday. So with hockey and the NBA still on a break here for our local teams, it was all about BYU. They were front and center, and they delivered in a big, bad way. 91-67. I was left with a distinct feeling that Kansas didn't want to be there after a while. They were just like, can we start the bus and get out of here? I was surprised there wasn't more fight from them, but that is not BYU's problem. BYU's problem is when presented with a wide-open three-pointer in the corner, make it. And they did.
Yeah, they kicked the crap out of them start to finish. As impressive a win as they've had in a good, long friggin' while. No doubt about it, man.
Now that Utah and BYU have taken their wins over Kansas, I suppose, and the Utes have to, as we just heard from Ken Pomeroy, they got to win out. But now you hope Kansas does something so those wins look good, not take a series of more beatings.
Yeah, I'm sure Ute fans weren't happy on multiple levels with BYU destroying the Jayhawks because that downgraded their win a little bit. But that's not too bad to worry about because it puts yourselves in a position to go ahead and win some bigger games down the last 5 here, and maybe you can go into conference tournament thinking, hey, we get 1 or 2 wins, we're in. That'd be a great situation for Utah where they were. I mean, starting 0-3 in conference and getting smoked. They've had a nice rebound here and see if they can continue it. From BYU's perspective now, they have a lot of hype. It's funny because the AJ coming next year has already created hype around this year.
Mm-hmm.
And it has brought the focus. Like, wait a second, man. What are they
What's
doing?
going on there?
Yeah. And then ESPN sends out a guy, and we had Rondo on last week to talk about Tom Homo.
And to talk about, when you talk to him about what a change it is in mentality from the 90s to today?
I asked him, I said, Rondo, what did you think when you saw that quote that said, you will not outbid us? I was shocked.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's about what I would think Rondo would say.
Right.
It's a total change in mentality from the way the department was run in the 90s when he was in charge.
But not just the money, the bodaciousness of saying it publicly.
I get it. Spending
That's
the money.
not their way.
Spending the money
is one thing. But then running your mouth about
talking
it.
about it like that.
Yeah. That's
another.
That's the, I don't want to say it's unbecoming, but it's not the BYU way. He talked about that the next challenge of the athletic director, and we can get into that, and you should go and listen to a little bit of it or have Yak play you some, where he says the challenge of the next athletic director will be to keep the idea going that BYU is the big dog in the Big 12. We are the big dog. We don't talk about it, but we are the big dog. Of course, he's talking about it. But he's not in an official capacity.
I get it, but how you
neither is the booster, for that matter.
How you sell that notion on campus in private to the Cougar Club, how you sell that in the media, and how you sell that in conference meetings, right? There's different audiences, and how you present yourself and how you carry yourself. Sometimes it's just the swagger.
Yeah, like I've got swag, but I
There
don't
you
have
go.
swag. I don't have
There you
bling. But just the way I carry myself, darn tootin' well, I'm the big dog in sports radio. I mean, just the way, and media.
There it is.
And I don't have to say it.
It's just the way you walk across the plaza.
I'm the big dog combined with being extremely friendly. It is an unusual winning combination.
Would you like to read that quote again?
Well, I'm remarkably friendly. I mean, that's coming from in-house.
Yes.
It's not me saying it. It's just repeating what's been said about me. You know what I mean?
Previous managers would find that stunning and would debate it, but you know what? They're gone, so who cares?
Who's standing? All you folk that threw
going
the
Elton
darts,
John?
threw the knives, you gone, me here.
You going Elton John?
No.
Oh.
I'm not.
Well, still standing.
I heard you the first time, but I'm not. You don't like my answers sometimes, and you repeat the question as if I'm going to change the
I don't
answer.
always know if you understood.
Oh, what are you, intellectually superior?
Well, earlier I had to explain to you the difference between 1280 AM and 97.5 FM.
because I
So,
wasn't paying
there are
attention.
moments. Oh, okay, you weren't paying
It's
attention.
what's trending. I don't pay attention then. That's your thing. That's your segment. Sponsored by you.
It's really not sponsored by Shamrock Plumbing.
was figuring out what I was going to say when we get to the meat of the show. I understand you. I know where you're coming from, buddy boy.
Okay.
We good. But how about that? We're the big dog. Let's hear it. Let's just freaking hear it. Today.
Hold on, I had to think about it for a minute.
The next AD is going to have to ensure that none of that momentum is lost and that the rest of the Big 12 accepts that BYU is the big dog. That would sound offensive to the athletic communities in some of the other Big 12 schools, but that's how it is. And we don't want to be out there beating our breasts saying, hey, look at me, we're BYU. We want other people to draw that conclusion and be saying it for us. That's how Tom did it, and that's what needs to be done going forward.
I will say it. BYU is the big dog of the Big 12.
Well, I'm saying to turn around looking at Kalani and looking at Kevin Young. Don't make me look bad, guys. Win. Big.
We're
again.
The big dog. Woof, woof.
I don't know if woof, woof helps you be the big dog, but... Woof.
Okay,
woof.
would you rather I raise my leg?
Ooh.
And it's officially break time.
I can do that if you want. Which do you prefer?
Woof, woof. If those are my choices. I mean, I really like to see what's behind door number 3 over
They
there.
talk about sometimes how PK just yanks the wheel and turns it. That is the...
That'd be an example of it.
We went from
Yeah.
woof woof to you want me to raise my leg.
Well, I was thinking, in dog terms.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to pull an Ole Miss football player in the Egg Bowl a couple of years ago.
I am the Eggman. Cuckoo, ka-choo.
I didn't go over that well when you did that. Was it tacky? Yes. Was it hilarious? As a matter of fact, it was.
You also got the rivalry threatened to be shut down.
Yeah, it did. All right, DJ and PK, when we come back, your feedback next, and then then Jake will be in to tell us who stinks. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone.
And it's all over almost here.
Don't go nowhere.
DJ and PK, a reminder to join Hans and Scotty G today from noon to 3 at RGS Exteriors at 4235 Farm Road in West Jordan. It is time now for your feedback. How about BYU kicking the crap out of Kansas? That got 26 likes, PK. That is quite a bit. And it's got a bunch of comments here. Back to blue. Love to see it. Kathy, the librarian. It was wonderful to see. And Wild Turkey. Hang that in your office and frame it, David. That's a little hostile, but okay. 11-2 and highly ranked goes full on Chris Farley in the boat with the life jacket. That was awesome.
You're a BYU fan, or
It really
no
was.
other way to think.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to play well offensively, 91 points, check. I want to play well defensively, 57 points, check. Want to beat a name brand? Kansas, check. And I had it all.
And, yeah, it was a great time on ESPN. The regular ESPN would have been 9 o'clock back east, so people could have watched it a little bit before they've gone to bed. And if they weren't interested in you, they were interested in Kansas, because Kansas is obviously a brand name. And so with that in mind, that you can then show them what you're about. It was a great advertisement for BYU basketball, combined with you will not outbid us. I really think they should change the name to the slogan, the world is our campus, or come here and learn and go forth to serve. Come here to get rich if you're a basketball player.
There it is. Merritt Center, arrow that way.
$8.5 million, and he's already getting money. Somebody told me he was getting $600,000. I have no idea if that's true, to play in high school.
I had heard a slightly bigger number than that, but I also don't know if that's
not
true.
that the high school's playing him. I'm not saying that, paying him.
But whoever.
These kids
Who
are
knows
getting
at this?
sponsorships.
Who knows at this point? And everybody's trying to get on the ground floor for future earnings. You know.
Oh, yeah, it's 600. If this kid is anything as close to what he says he is going to be a drop in a bucket.
Right. That's quite. And if you just find 10 kids like that and figure, well, 7 of them will pan out and 3 of them will bust, I won't worry about the 3 of them.
Yeah, and screw the other 3. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right. Fend for yourself. I don't care about you anymore. What's in it for me?
Also, a question up. Former Utah tight end Dalton Kincaid, second from right, joins some Buffalo Bills teammates golfing with the president. Who's in your foursome? And Reed says, Lavelle Edwards, Dave Trio, Bill Murray, and myself. What would be your all-comedy if you're going out?
Yeah, but I don't want that, though.
You don't, but somebody else might.
I don't want to jack around when I'm playing golf. I don't want it to be stupid.
That's why earlier when I said I wouldn't mind going to the all-time greats that I only see on the old film, Arnold Palmer. I actually did get to interview one time when he was here for an event. Ben Hogan, Bobby Jones. Let's go out there with the legends.
Sure.
But some people do want to go out there for laughs.
Nah. Not on the golf course, no. That seriously bugs me, and you've probably seen this, Yock. You get up there, especially in the summer, when ding-dongs, you want to go golfing? Sure, let's go golfing. And then they go out there, and
hit a bad shot, and they laugh.
Yeah, no.
And it's slow play,
right.
and you're laughing.
And you don't know what you're doing. You're just making it miserable for everybody behind you.
The only thing that compounds it is the 24-pack of Miller Lite or whatever they're carrying in their cart with them.
Yeah, and I've had that. I've had two guys once, both show up with a 24-pack.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, and they were blitzed to get at the start, and then they recognized me, so I got to be halfway nice. And then he asked me about, this was all during the time of the LGBTQ thing going on at BYU with the Big 12, and he asked me, what do you think of that? And I said, I don't. I'm here to play golf, man. What do you mean, what do I think about that? I'm not good enough to start carrying on life-important discussions on the golf course. Forget it. I'll just go.
You can listen to the show for that. We're out here golfing now.
Yes. Yeah. So I don't know if I would like to. If Bill Murray was serious about golfing.
Best local sports celebs who are also good golfers. So the guy brings up Lavelle Edwards. Lavelle Edwards, Jeff Hornacek. You always said Mehmet Okur was pretty good.
I've played with Mehmet, yes.
Now, there's three high-profile sports guys who might or might not, but they might tell you a couple good stories and say something.
Is Hornacek a good golfer?
Yeah.
I've talked to him about golf, but I've never played with him.
He played in it was a duo out at Willow Creek, a pro and a celebrity sponsor, whoever, and I got thrown in it. Actually lasted till the fourth hole. It was a miracle. And every hole they eliminated somebody. And Jeff was still going at hole 7. And I don't remember beyond that. I remember there were 3. You could actually tell. It's like, those 3 teams are still going to be playing at the end. Everyone else will get knocked out. And Jeff was in the group of 3 that was still going to be playing.
We don't have time.
I think he lost on the last hole.
I have a great Hornacek story that defines who he is.
Thank goodness we have a show tomorrow. We will get to that. Jake and Ben next, right here on The Zone.